Hey guys, Simon Bryson here, and today I'm going to tell you guys the truth. And the truth is, I owe around $50,000. If I paid $50K today, I would be 100% debt free. And by the way, I've seen videos on YouTube on the same topic over and over again, and people literally start crying in tears because of how much money they actually owe and because they're so stressed out about it. But that's not that type of video, although I'm not gonna cry here, honestly, right? Let's be honest here, because in reality, to me, when I think about debt, I think about math, and math is numbers, and math always has a solution. So in reality, although I have this debt, this video is more about like, hey, why do I have this debt? How did I get this debt? And on top of that, does it make financial sense to pay off this debt in full? Or for example, should I postpone that and pay it off later on and invest my money today? And that is exactly what this video is about today. Now, if you're new here, guys, I post videos every single day. So make sure to also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified. And on top of that, also destroy the like button. Now, the first debt I actually have is called student loan debt, and today I owe around $20,963.88. Tell me, why include the cents? They're just pennies. Well, if I pay off the 20K and leave those cents right there, in reality, they will still charge me for it, and that's why I have to include it. Now, if you guys don't know, I'm an accountant. I got a bachelor's degree in accounting, and although I never got a traditional accounting job, I did use my degree to start a business helping small businesses, and that business did make me a lot of money, so I used it in my own way. Now, when it comes to this video and debt, why I got it, how I got it, is it good, is it bad, I'm going to talk about three main things here. And those things are basically the cost of debt, okay? On top of that, the ROI, the return on my investments. In this case, the investment was actually the debt. And on top of that, the investment potential, if I paid that debt in full today, or for example, if I didn't do that and I just invested the money, what would be the difference and which option is actually best? Well, the first thing is this, guys, okay? When it comes to my debt, here is how much money is actually costing me every single year. Well, in reality, guys, because of everything going on right now with the whole pandemic, well, there is no interest actually being charged or paid to them or any payments at all. So in reality, currently, it's actually free. So we don't know when exactly everything is going to go back to normal and be like, hey, you have to make payments, but for right now, I'm not making any payments whatsoever. And on top of that, it's not costing me $1. So it's basically free. But in reality, my student loan debt costs me around 4.6% in interest annually, every single year. So if you're wondering, tell me, well, how much is that when you owe $20,930 or $63.88? Well, the answer is it costs me around $964.33 every single year in interest, okay? That's how much money it actually cost me. Now, if I got a loan consolidation or consolidation loan, well, I could actually pay around $200 every single month and be done with that debt by around 2040. So year 2040. So 20 years later, I will be done with that entire debt. And that means that basically if I did that, I would have a very low payment every single month and be done with it in 20 years or so, okay? That's the core idea when it comes to like, hey, here's how much my loan is actually costing me. Now, when it comes to the ROI of this debt, this $21,000 almost, right? The answer is that although $21,000 is a ton of money to actually have or actually owe, in reality, I use around $10K of that money to actually go ahead and start a business with my accounting skills and help small businesses. And that money, that $10K initially, plus the $11K from like the other like student loan debt, like the normal student loan debts, well, all that money has been used for basically a business, right? The skill of accounting and also the $10K to start the business. In reality, this money right here has made me around between $150,000 all the way up to $200,000. So obviously, the ROI is almost around 400% on the money I actually owe. So in reality, it made a lot of financial sense to go out there, use that money to get the skill of accounting, and also $10K to start the business to go out there and start a business. By the way, what I did was very simple. I went to small businesses because basically no one was targeting them, and I went to them and I offered my skills and also offered to get them capital, and that's how I started to build my money step by step. So from 10K to 150K to 200K is not that bad if you ask me, okay? But it's all about return on your investment. And by the way, it just wasn't the money, but also the skill of an accountant, because I can always go ahead and sell that skill if I want to. And that same thing applies for, hey, if you got a degree and it costs you 100K, but you make 150K or 200K, well, in reality, that is a great ROI, a great return on your investment. But I always recommend, okay, make sure you get a job, get scholarships. That way you don't owe that much money, because in reality, if I didn't get a scholarship, or for example, even have jobs on the side, I wouldn't have actually paid 21K. I would actually ended up paying like around close to like 60 to 80K, okay? And that's a lot more money than just owing like $21,000 in student loan debt. So always have a job, make payments. On top of that, apply for every single scholarship out there. Now, when it comes to, well, Tommy, what would be the difference if you actually paid off all this money, or for example, just invested all this money, okay? So what is the investment potential of this debt right here? Well, mathematically, it's a pretty simple idea, right? And you can calculate it basically with a loan calculator online on Google. Very simple to actually do. Just put in your numbers and everything is going to pop up. Well, in my case, if I paid $200, okay, every single month for 20 years, and I'll be done with this entire debt right here, right? In reality, I would pay around $15,000 extra just in interest. So I would basically pay almost double the money I actually owe today, but just in interest. Now, say for example, I grab that $21,000 I actually owe and basically put it maybe into an index fund that pays me around 8% every single year. Well, in reality, if I left it there for 20 years, that money would be around $97,000 20 years later. So in reality, although that student loan debt cost me around like $35,000 to $38,000, well, comparatively to actually making 97K, it doesn't really make that sense mathematically to pay off that debt in full. That's the core idea here. So mathematically, it always usually gonna make sense to basically just invest that money today, leave it there until the life of the loan, and that way you'll have a lot more money invested versus just paying off that debt, okay? Because if you actually think about it, guys, okay, that 97K in investment money that I will have in those 20 years, well, guess what? That's around 4x the money that I actually owe today, which is around $21,000. So it makes a lot of sense financially, mathematically, to go ahead and invest the money and just make the payments, because either way, whether you pay the interest, well, in reality, in the end, you'll make a lot more money just by investing the money today. But that's assuming that you have all the money today, the 21K, to invest today and leave it there for those 20 years to actually come. So if you ask me, Tommy, then what exactly is your strategy? Well, you have the first strategy, mathematically, right? Mathematically, the best strategy is basically make the minimum payments over the 20-year period and then grab that 21K today, invest it, leave it there, and in the end, your investments will pay the interest and also the capital, and you'll still have a hefty profit to keep for yourself. But there is a second strategy that actually pays you a lot more money and also gives you a lot more peace of mind. Say, for example, you actually paid off all that debt, that 21K today, in full. And you might say, Tommy, but that's stupid, right? Because basically the interest is low. So basically your investments will actually grow more. So why not just invest the money? Well, follow along here, okay? The idea is that if I paid off that 21K today in full, and instead of making those payments of $200 every single month towards my debt, I grabbed that money and invested it every single month for 20 years. Well, at the end of those 20 years, invested $200 every single month at an 8% return, I would have around $118,000 invested. Well, tell me why though? Because basically, $200 over 20 years is around like $48,000 invested, okay? So that's why the math actually makes sense, and that's why you'll have even more money invested. And also, guess what? It's going to help you out with peace of mind, because literally you won't owe anybody any money also. So the answer is not always black and white. It's not always like, hey, you know, just pay off the money today and be done with it. Or for example, don't pay it off and just invest the money, because basically you can leverage it out and make a ton of money. In reality, at least with this debt right here over 20 years, it's actually better off if I pay it off in full today and just invest minimum payments every single month over a long period of time, and then boom, I'll have a lot of money. But usually, if your debt is anywhere around maybe 6% or maybe 5% in interest every single year, usually it makes financial sense to go ahead and pay it off as fast as possible. If it's going to be paid off in full within 1 to 3 years usually. But if you're going to go 10 years trying to pay it off in full, like super fast, in reality, you're better off just trying to basically invest money also, so you also have money compounded on the side, okay? Because 10 years of paying debts versus 10 years of also investing even a small amount of money is a big difference. But only like 1 year or 3 years of just like debt payments, that's no big deal, at least mathematically, okay? So keep that in mind. Always run the numbers. It's not as simple. It's not just black and white. Now, my second debt is actually a business loan, okay? And I actually owe around $28,800 from my EIDL loan that I actually got, okay? And the idea is that this loan is actually going to be used for keeping up with payroll and also keeping up with the bills of the business that I actually have, which is basically, in this case, YouTube, okay? Now, you might be asking me, Tommy, okay, so let's go over all the math here, okay? How much is it going to cost you? On top of that, what's the ROI? And also, what's the investment potential if you paid off that debt today, or for example, left it there over the life of the entire loan? We're going to break everything down right now. The first thing is this, okay? This loan is costing me around 3.75% every single year, but I don't have to make a payment for around 10 more months, so it's basically growing at nothing. Right now, it's not doing anything. Right now, the loan is basically free for around 10 months or so, okay? Because it's basically how it works with the EIDL loan, okay? Now, there is one thing that's very important here. It means that if it's charging me 3.75%, it's costing me around $1,050 every single year. On top of that, they actually gave me 30 years to pay this debt off in full. So basically, if I make payments of $133 over 30 years, I will be done with that debt in full. But it would cost you around $19,215 in interest. Now you might say, Tommy, that's a lot of money, but because the loan is actually for 30 years and not 20 years of my student loan debt, and because it's actually at a 3.75 and not a 4.6% like my student loan debt, in reality, is cheaper and also for a longer period of time. So reality is actually a little bit more complicated, okay? But before I get to the math and how much money it'll make me, let's talk about exactly the ROI on this debt right here. And the answer is that this debt basically keeps everything with my business stable for around 8 to 9 months or so, because basically this loan is going to be used for payroll and also bills. So that way everything is going softly and that way everything is going smoothly. That's the core idea of the ROI of this debt, okay? Now, there is one thing to keep in mind here. Because I have an S Corp, the payroll I pay myself, usually I grab all that money and basically invest almost around 100% of it. That's usually what I do with the money I pay myself on payroll, okay? Distributions are a different thing. That's another video for another day. But the payroll money I pay myself, the salary I pay myself, I use 100% of it and I go ahead and I invest it. And that's around $48,000 every single year. So just keep that in mind there when it comes to the ROI on this loan right here. Now, when it comes to investment potential of this debt right here, well, guess what, guys, okay? The truth is that over 30 years, making payments of around $133 with interest and capital, it would cost me a total of around $48,015 and also 82 cents, okay? It's a lot of money, I know. But in reality, if I grabbed that $28,800 and just invested it there at an 8% return over 30 years, well, that's a lot of time, right? So in 30 years, I would have a total of around $289,000 in my investment portfolio. But for example, if I just paid off that debt in full and basically invested the $133 every single month, right, to basically just get the offsets, well, the idea is that I would actually make around $195K in that 30-year period. So obviously, my strategy is very simple. I'm not going to actually pay it off in full at all. I'll pay that $133 every single month, but I'll also invest that $28,800. And basically, by the time that 30 years hits, I've already made around $289,000. So although they make off me $19,000, I actually make around what, like $289,000, which is actually a ton of money. So overall, guys, the idea for this video is to show you that basically, mathematically, sometimes it makes sense to pay off the debt in full, be done with it, 1 to 2 years, boom, you're done. But sometimes it makes sense financially to grab that debt and just make it as long as possible and just invest the difference, and that way you'll have a lot more money in the end. But there is one thing to keep in mind here. The general idea of this video is that basically I'm grabbing the money and basically investing it and putting it to work. But if all you're doing with the money is basically grabbing it and spending on something else, then you're actually not doing anything whatsoever, and you're better off just paying the debt and being done with it. So keep that in mind, okay? So that's how this works, guys. But guys, comment down below and let me know, what are you going to do when it comes to your debt? Was this video helpful? And do you have student loan debt? And if you do, comment down below and let me know. And by the way, don't forget here, okay, I did not mention credit card debt, personal loans, or any debt that's above a 6% interest rate, because in reality, I don't have any of those because they cost way too much money, and they don't have any benefits whatsoever when it comes to investing the difference. So when you have credit card debt or a personal loan like around 7% or 6% interest rate, you're just better off paying it off in full and then going ahead and investing the difference after you're done with that debt, okay? Because it's costing you too much money, so the investments won't even make a dent comparatively to how much that debt is actually costing you. So keep that in mind. But guys, that's about it for this video. Comment down below, let me know if it was helpful. On top of that, if you like this video right here, well, like this video. On top of that, if you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell to get notified. And before I go, if you want to talk to me one-on-one, or for example, text me, just subscribe to my Patreon, link down below, or just DM me on Instagram at Tommy Bryson. And before I go, if you want to watch this video exactly and how I pay off my debts when I had credit card debts, watch the video right here and click on. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.